Amanda never screamed. She never begged. She found the hotel email on a Tuesday. And by Thursday, she was already talking to her lawyer. This isn't a story about a man who cheated. It's about a woman who watched it unfold, and chose silence over chaos. She didn't want revenge. She wanted everything in writing. The email wasn't meant for me. But it told me everything. It came at 7:48 a.m. on a Thursday. I was in the kitchen, making coffee, half listening to the local news, when the notification blinked across my shared inbox with Mark. The subject line, "Your stay at Palmside Executive Hotel, thank you." Palmside. I didn't recognize it immediately. But the date was there, bold and undeniable. 3 days ago. The same night he said he was stuck in Bakersfield for a client pitch. I clicked. My fingers didn't shake. Not yet. The reservation was for one adult. One king bed. A late-night check-in. Nothing dramatic. No lipstick-stained collar. No perfume-soaked shirt. Just a digital receipt, quietly damning. The coffee went cold. I didn't drink it. Instead, I opened my laptop and began. First, Google the hotel. Location, reviews, photos. Second, compare his calendar. He told me he'd be in Bakersfield, but the hotel was in Westwood, not even close. 35 miles off route. I checked the traffic patterns from that night. There was no way it was a detour. Third, search old messages. Nothing suspicious. He was too careful for that. But that made the email even more potent. He hadn't deleted the booking confirmation because he never thought it would reach me. I didn't call him. I didn't text. I didn't throw things or scream into a pillow. That version of me doesn't exist anymore. People think betrayal comes with shouting. But no. Sometimes it arrives on a quiet morning with soft light through the blinds and a Gmail ping that splits your life into before and after. I stared at the screen. Not looking for answers, just documenting them. I took screenshots. Saved files. Created a folder. Titled it, Clarity. I didn't want revenge. Not then. I didn't even want confrontation. What I wanted was understanding. Not his. Mine. I kept working that day. Took Zoom calls. Sent design approvals. Gave notes on a residential renovation in Beverly Hills. My voice never cracked. My hands stayed still. But my eyes kept returning to the folder. Mark texted at 5:17 p.m. heading home. Traffic's rough. Want Thai? I typed, sure. Pad see you. He brought dinner, kissed my cheek, poured wine. I watched him set the table and wondered, was it that night? Was it the same wine? The same hands? Did he lie to her, too? Later, while he showered, I returned to the email. Downloaded the full invoice. Noted the check-in time. 10:42 p.m. At 10:43 that night, he'd texted me, room small but cozy. Talk tomorrow. So he lied. Neatly. On schedule. I closed the laptop. Slept next to him. The next morning, he made eggs. Told me a joke about a client who forgot to mute himself during a Zoom call. I laughed. I even touched his hand. It felt like acting. Maybe it was. But I wasn't pretending to be okay. I was preparing. By noon, I had pulled our financials. Joint accounts. Insurance policies. Property deeds. At 2 p.m., I called a lawyer. Quietly. Asked for a consultation. "Do you suspect he's cheating?" the assistant asked. I replied, "I know. But I'm not ready to tell him I know." She understood. The email sat there all day, unread by him, sitting in the inbox he never checked. I didn't delete it. I didn't forward it. I just let it exist, a quiet ghost in the machine. That night, Mark sat beside me on the couch. We watched some crime show about a man who thought he could get away with everything. He laughed. He kissed my temple. I saved the episode title. The irony was too perfect. People like him think cheating is the betrayal. But no. The betrayal is thinking the person next to you doesn't notice. I noticed. And that's where it all began. Before I said a word to him, I said everything to my attorney. The office was on Wilshire. 8th floor. Frosted glass. Quiet hallways. The receptionist didn't ask why I was there. Just offered water and a clipboard. I didn't write much. Just my name. Amanda Whitaker. And that I preferred email communication. When the attorney walked in, late 40s, female, sharp navy blazer and sharper eyes, I felt oddly calm. "You're not here to ask if it happened," she said, flipping open a legal pad. "You're here because it did." I nodded. She listened as I laid it out: the email, the date, the hotel, the calendar lie, the wine, the shower, the silence. She didn't ask why I hadn't confronted him. Instead, she said, "Let's talk about options." We mapped assets like a general drawing a battlefield. Our home in Santa Monica. 2 rental properties. 1 beach house in Mendocino he thought I hated. Retirement accounts, investment portfolios, a wine collection that had become his weekend obsession. I told her I didn't want war. I wanted structure. A clean extraction. She smiled. "Then we'll do this the smart way." From that moment, I became a student of my own life. Every password, every account, every tiny clause I'd once schemed over while trusting the man beside me, I read them again. Closely. I changed nothing yet. But I looked. Deeply. Repeatedly. And I documented. At home, I continued to be Amanda the wife. I asked how his day was. Laughed when appropriate. Cooked a little more than usual. Not because I cared to win him back, but because I wanted him comfortable. Loose. Predictable. He became sloppy in his comfort. Told me about his co-worker's divorce. Joked about prenups. Once, over dinner, he said, "You'd never do that to me." I smiled. Tilted my wine glass. Of course not. The irony nearly choked me. He was texting more now. The smile when his phone buzzed was different. Not the alert of a boss or a client. A smirk. The kind you give someone who thinks they're clever. I watched from the kitchen. Took photos of the screen reflections in the window when I could. Time-stamped. Archived. Every night, I updated the folder, clarity. It was growing. I asked the attorney to recommend a forensic accountant. Quiet, discreet. She gave me a name. We found a shell account. He had been diverting funds into a secondary investment platform, not illegal but not shared. She said, men like him don't just cheat emotionally. They hedge everything. I nodded. My fingers didn't shake anymore. 3 weeks passed. The house felt normal on the surface. But underneath? It buzzed. He bought me flowers one day. Said he felt guilty for working too much. I said, thank you. Kissed his cheek. Later that night, I called the lawyer. Told her I wanted to begin drafting a financial disclosure agreement under the guise of estate planning. He always said we should be more organized. She laughed. We'll call it a reset package. He agreed to it the next day. No hesitation. Because I was still smiling. Still cooking. Still asking about his co-workers. I had become 2 women. The one who folded laundry beside him, and the one who was folding the timeline of our marriage into a strategy. He didn't notice the difference. That was his mistake. Sometimes, I sat beside him on the couch while he scrolled Instagram. I'd glance at the people he followed. A new name caught my eye. A private profile. A bio with a sunflower emoji. Sunflowers. He once said they reminded him of summer in college. I screenshot it. By now, he had no idea I knew. He still kissed me goodbye. Still left his laptop open. Still took late calls in the garage. I logged every detail. The lawyer called this phase preparatory calm. She said, he's writing the ending without knowing you've already outlined the final chapter. It was a strange kind of power. Not joyful. Not vengeful. Just, precise. Each day, I played my part. And each night, I sharpened the edges of my plan. When he hugged me in the hallway, I hugged back. Because some goodbyes require the illusion of warmth before the door closes. I hadn't said a word to him. But I had said everything that mattered. To my lawyer. And soon, it would begin. He signed everything, because he still thought I loved him. It was the perfect setup, a joint investment in a boutique real estate firm expanding in Palm Springs. Mark was excited. He kept saying it was our next chapter. I let him believe it. We scheduled a meeting with the partners. I offered to handle the legal coordination. Mark hated paperwork, always had. It was how I'd managed to manage him for years. Let's just formalize a few things before we jump in, I said one night, handing him a stack of documents over dinner. You know, for clarity. He didn't even look up from his pasta. Just said, whatever you need, babe. I trust you. He signed every page. The documents included a financial partition clause. A confidentiality rider. A silent reassignment of personal assets in the event of ethical misconduct. I had spent weeks with my attorney crafting the language to be surgical, fair, but final. He initialed next to every red tab. "You always make this easy," he said with a smirk. And I smiled. 3 days later, I scheduled the transfer. The money moved. The paperwork was logged. I waited 1 more week. Just enough time for his guard to be at its lowest. Just enough time for me to breathe through the final act. That Saturday, he left for a strategy weekend with the investment team. I knew exactly where he was going. While he packed, he kissed my forehead. Said, "I love how you always believe in me." I said, "Go make us proud." When the door closed behind him, I picked up my phone. The clip was ready. It was a short recording from the nanny cam I'd placed in the guest room 6 weeks earlier. The footage showed him with the woman from the sunflower emoji bio. Not explicit, but enough. I emailed it to him with no subject line. Just 1 sentence in the body. "You were too busy watching her to realize I was watching you." The message marked as read within minutes. He called. I declined. He called again. Then texted. "Amanda, what is this? We need to talk. I messed up. But we can fix this." I didn't answer. He got home Sunday night. The house was quiet. My keys were gone. On the counter, a folder with a sticky note, "Refer to section 3.2. Inside, the agreements. His initials. The bank transfer confirmation. A printed screenshot of the video. He didn't call again that night. When he finally did, his voice was small. Like a boy who just realized he broke something he can't glue back together. "You didn't have to do it like this," he whispered. I almost replied. Almost told him that I had no other choice. That his lies left me no room for confrontation, only construction. But I didn't. Because this wasn't about explanations anymore. It was about closure. He signed everything because he thought love meant loyalty. He was wrong. Love means truth. And he gave me neither. I gave him silence. Which, in the end, was louder than anything he could have said. She didn't want revenge. She just wanted the ending in her own hands. The morning after, I packed lightly. 2 suitcases. A leather folder with my documents. No boxes. No drama. No goodbyes. I left my wedding ring on the nightstand. Not out of symbolism. Just practicality. I didn't want to carry it. The house was still. It smelled like fresh coffee. He must have brewed it before realizing I wasn't there. I imagined him walking through the kitchen, calling my name with that half-worried, half-irritated tone. Then seeing the empty closet. The note on the dresser. "This isn't yours anymore." I moved into a short-term rental off Ocean Avenue. It had a view of the water and enough space to breathe. I brought my laptop, a few clothes, and silence. He texted within hours. "We need to talk. Can we fix this? You blindsided me." The messages came fast, then slower, then desperate. then nostalgic. Photos of us. Memories. Vacations. Jokes. I didn't answer. Because this wasn't a negotiation. It was a declaration. Of self-respect. Of finality. Some nights, I opened a blank document and stared at the cursor. Not because I wanted to relieve it, but because I wanted to record it. Not for him. Not for a courtroom. Just for me. He kept reaching out. Emails. A voicemail where he cried. A letter, handwritten, dropped at my old front door. It sat there for days. I never picked it up. Forgiveness is a beautiful thing. But it isn't always owed. He had framed our marriage with charm and care. But behind it, there was rot. Quiet, spreading rot. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I wasn't angry. I was clear. That confused him the most. That I didn't scream. Didn't show up. Didn't fight. That I just left. In control. Intact. There's a particular power in walking away without needing to be seen. A month passed. The documents finalized. The transfers held. The house was listed. My lawyer sent me a message, he signed the last release. It's over. I thanked her. Then closed the email. No celebration. No champagne. Just a long walk by the water. I began writing again. Not a diary. A manuscript. A story about a woman who saw the truth and didn't flinch. It wasn't revenge. It was record. He had tried to shape the narrative. Lie, charm, deflect. But in the end, it was my story. Mine to write. I don't think he ever fully understood that. That the biggest betrayal wasn't the affair. It was thinking I wouldn't see it. And underestimating what I'd do when I did. I still get his emails sometimes. I don't open them. Because silence isn't cold. Sometimes, it's the warmest form of goodbye. And I had already said everything I needed to say. Just not to him. Amanda's story ended in silence. But not every silence is chosen. In our next chapter, a woman from San Diego thought she could forgive her husband's first affair. Until she found out. He never stopped. Next on 10 True Affair Stories from California.